An ordinary girl with a dark secret. 28 to 32 days later. Every month, she undergoes a dark transformation.
Some things belong in horror movies like werewolves and vampires, but other things, like menstruation, don't. Back in the 1800s, physicians associated menstruation with magic and madness. But today, we know better. So why do we still treat menstruation like it's some mythical monster? This is the Menstruation Situation. Luckily, people are helping to remove this stigma by bringing attention to issues surrounding periods. Meet Kathleen Fraser, one of the creators of the national campaign, No Tax on Tampons. It all started when Kathleen and her friends questioned why feminine hygiene products are subject to the federal goods and services tax, while other products aren't. They say it is an unfair, gendered tax. The campaign aims to change this. A few months ago, they launched an online petition on change.org. A month later, they had already met their goal of 50,000 digital signatures. With paper petitions now being collected, the campaign is picking up speed.
Well, I see it as a discriminatory tax, and I think that the people who face this tax already are facing a financial burden. Women are paid much less than men in Canada still, as of like 2012 census data, and trans and queer people face poverty and homelessness at really high rates. So although there have been a lot of conversations in Canada about what should be taxed, this is a part of the conversation that doesn't really come up a lot.
So, do Canadians pay the 5% GST on all products? Not quite. Let's play a little game. Can you guess which products are GST-free? Pads or birthday cake? Cocktail cherries or non-applicator tampons? Adult diapers or super absorbent maxi pads? Panty liners or pizza pockets? Tampons or chocolate chips? Are you confused? So are we. Menstrual products are classified by the Canadian government as non-essential or luxury items. That's why they're taxed. But as you just saw, some food and medical products are exempt from GST. These products are included in a document called the Excise Tax Act because they are deemed essential.
GST paid.
We decided to speak to Tara Ramzaran, who teaches taxation at the John Molson School of Business, to find out why menstrual products wouldn't be considered essential when cocktail cherries are. Yeah, I mean, what do you think really differentiates an item that's a necessity versus a luxury in the eyes of the GST?
I think it's basically necessities of life, your daily living. There's some misconception of what we consider to be luxury versus what the Excise Tax Act considers to be luxury items.
How do you think that it is that they decide, I guess, what gets exempt on the, well, not exempt, what gets put to zero taxation?
I have no idea. My opinion is that it should not be taxed. There should be no GST. It should be a zero-rated product. Having a period is sort of an incontinence issue. So if there's no GST on incontinence product, tampons should be in that category of incontinence, and all feminine products should be in the category of incontinence. Believe me, you cannot stop a period. Period.
There is no way to slow the flow, but a variety of products exist for when it's that time of the month. Menstrual cups cost around $40 and are good for up to 1 year. On average, a pack of 36 tampons costs around $8, which comes to about $60 per year. Pads cost roughly $6.45 for a pack of 14, and that's also about $60 annually. In 2014, Canadian menstruators spent nearly $520 million on these products. From these purchases, the government collected $36 million. So while the cost of menstrual products adds up for the individual, the impact it has on the government's total revenue is negligible. Would the government even notice if it wasn't there? We wanted to find out if the No Tax on Tampons campaign was being addressed on Parliament Hill. So we headed to Ottawa to find out just what the government's plans are. 2 years ago, NDP MP Irene Matheson proposed a private member's bill to remove the GST on feminine hygiene products. For her, removing this tax comes down to more than just dollars and cents. It's about making a statement.
Governments set priorities, and if their priority is gender fairness, equity across the tax system, then they can prioritize that and look for savings elsewhere. There hasn't been any real response from this government or the members of the third party, which suggests that they're not taking it seriously. There isn't a great deal of interest, and that is reflected in the last 25 years where the issue hasn't been responded to by anyone.
It's been 25 years since GST was first introduced at 7%. A year later, it came into effect. The tax on feminine hygiene products was first questioned in 2002 after an Ontario MPP proposed it be reduced. 2 years later, Private Members Bill C-282 was introduced. It aimed to completely remove the GST on feminine hygiene products. Over the years, the bill was reintroduced several times, all while GST dropped down to 5%. Then, Irene Matheson reintroduced the bill in 2011, and again 2 years later. Today, Jill Pybiak and Kathleen Fraser are spreading the no tax on tampons message across the country. In other words, in the 13 years since the issue was first brought forward, little has changed.
So, indifference, I think, is as difficult to deal with, or perhaps even more difficult to deal with, than opposition. And we've seen nothing but indifference.
So, what's causing this indifference? To figure that out, we went back to Montreal and headed to Concordia University's Center for Gender Advocacy to speak to Anaïs Van Vliet.
I think that it speaks to who decides what is an essential product, who is making those decisions, and what they view as valuable or essential. For instance, there's very little conversation happening in the public sphere about menstruation and menstrual products, and it's very taboo. And I think that you can have also a larger conversation about like how those products are marketed.
This doesn't look right. Something about this doesn't look right either.
Look! There! Where he struck the river. He bleeds! The water turns to blood!
And this is just ridiculous.
Blood flows from the god! See how it spreads. It is blood!
So then why doesn't this look strange? It's as if menstrual blood is somehow worse than this.
Oh, God! I just found out about a great tampon. It's called Rely, and it's by Procter &
Society is comfortable with seeing vast amounts of Hollywood blood and gore. Yet something natural and non-violent, like period blood, is kept totally out of sight.
And even with twice as much liquid.
The discomfort surrounding menstruation is so pervasive, an advertisement showing the reality of periods is totally taboo. And this discomfort isn't limited to commercials. Does this image make you uncomfortable? This photo, posted on Instagram by artist Rupi Kaur just 2 weeks ago, was taken down twice by the social media website, who claimed it, quote, violated their community guidelines.
Well, I think it's sort of, again, it has to do with like not offending people. because menstruation and like menstrual blood has been made offensive, like it's been made to be perceived as offensive. On the other hand, we see movies that are full of gore and full of blood, and like that's not a thing. And yet, something that a huge percentage of the population experiences on a regular basis is considered offensive. And it's sort of a self-perpetuating cycle, right? Because by not seeing it, or like by showing it as like blue liquid, that's not really what we're not really talking about the thing that we're talking about, also contributes to people not learning about menstrual blood, not getting a sense that that's something you can't talk about.
We took to the streets of Montreal to find out if people would be comfortable talking to us about periods and the GST on menstrual products. So my question is, first of all, how comfortable are you girls talking about like menstruation?
What's up?
Menstruation.
What's up?
Like periods.
Oh, so comfortable.
I'm
you
so
guys can ask me anything.
Really
honestly.
How comfortable are you talking about menstruation?
Talk about what? I think quite okay. Yeah.
Menstruation.
Menstruation?
100% comfortable. It's fine.
Oh, very comfortable. Shoot. Any questions?
Like your period?
I don't have periods.
And why do you think it is that some people aren't necessarily comfortable talking about it?
Well, maybe because they never experienced it. Like, at least guys, like, you have no idea how it feels, so.
I think because they're embarrassed. They don't like to talk about something personal. I don't know.
Why do you think people are so uncomfortable talking about it?
Guys, or?
Maybe because guys make it seem like it's something so disgusting. So women just want to feel sexy, so they're uncomfortable about saying that they have it or that they maybe leaked or something.
Some women are known to have a fairly ugly period, basically, so I know that they get very insecure, and they're probably just, their periods probably stink or something like that, so they probably just feel like really embarrassed. Because I have a friend, this one actually, she had that problem, so she'd feel really uncomfortable even talking to us about it because she was just not comfortable with the whole scenario, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Because, well, I can't say for other people, but for me personally, it's because I've never experienced them, so I don't know what to say. I know it's bloody.
And did you know that there's actually GST on all menstrual products? So that includes like pads, tampons, like everything. There's a 5% tax on it. Did you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you did know?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
And what do you think of the fact that items like that are taxed, while let's say like cocktail cherries aren't, incontinence products aren't, and like all packaged foods and like human sperm isn't taxed?
Wow, that's a tricky question. I mean, I don't. It shouldn't be in a way, like maybe it could be taxed, but at a lower rate. I mean, to still get some income, but definitely like it shouldn't be as high as everything else.
Seeing as it's a natural thing, it's, I don't know, it seems like an injustice. And I guess people should probably protest about that.
Well, I think I don't know, it's weird.
Like we don't choose to have this, so it's unfair kind of.
It shouldn't be like that, because you know we didn't choose to be like to have menstruations and all. So the fact that it's taxed, like it shouldn't be that way.
I think it's ridiculous.
How is it a luxury item? It's probably the nastiest thing in the world to deal with your period.
It's a necessity, like you need it. Unless like you...
it should be, honestly, it should be a right. We have to deal with something. Our bodies are made in a certain way. We have to deal with this issue. So we should be accommodated without being taxed.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. I'm so outraged, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
What is the tax called?
It's just it's GST.
Like the one that's on
okay.
But there's
I think that's really ridiculous.
Because there's something called the Excise Tax Act.
There's probably women out there who can't afford tampons or pads, and they're probably walking around these streets right now, leaking their ways around Montreal. That's disgusting. Yeah. That's nasty. That's so disgusting of them. Yeah. No, I'm outraged.
But items like cocktail cherries, like adult diapers, and even like human sperm aren't taxed. What do you think about this?
No comment.
No comment.
No.
Have a good day.
Would you say that getting rid of the tax because it is only 5%, how much of a difference, I guess, would it make in women's lives, especially low-income women?
It does make a difference. I remember when I was a student and I would be in that low-income category and I had a budget to live by, I would stretch my pads. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but it did affect me. I would not have enough money to buy enough. So I would count and stretch and make it work for that month. It does make a difference, even if it's $5.
So you can imagine the burden for low-income women. To find out more, we headed to Chez Doris, a women's day shelter, and spoke with Thea Walker.
I know that certain other shelters, they do provide tampons and pads to the clients. Unfortunately, sometimes it's night shelters, and so if the woman does not get a bed in that night shelter, then for, let's say, that night, they just don't have any tampons or pads. It's first come, first serve. What we do is we have downstairs, right beside the reception, we always have tampons and pads when we do have them. So whoever comes and asks for them, we'll give them a couple to get them through the day. But again, when we run out, and unfortunately then a lot of women don't have access to it. I do find it a little funny that this is considered a luxury, seen as this is not a choice that we as women make to have our periods. So it's absolutely necessary to buy them, and everyone should have access to them.
Betty Karunis is a crisis worker at the shelter and has worked at Chez Doris for 10 years.
So right over here are the sanitary napkins, and as you can see, this is like maybe a good idea of what people could gather up together.
Because of the price of tampons and pads, Chez Doris relies entirely on donations from the public or local pharmacies to meet their clients' needs.
People from the community who come together and organize kind of food drives and obtain different kind of sanitary products for the women, let it be sanitary napkins or shampoo, conditioner, whatnot. So I would say all of this stuff that we get here at Chez Doris comes from private donations. I mean, we could definitely go through maybe about 200 to 300 sanitary napkins or tampons a week. Yeah, because we could get about 100 women a day, and if I wouldn't say everybody asks us, but I would say a good 25% of the women that come in the house daily ask for sanitary napkins, because it is an expense that they just can't cover. Because the welfare check is so little that once you've paid a bus pass and you put just a little bit aside for the groceries, there's not enough money for anything, any other kind of necessities. What women would do, unfortunately, they would have to kind of create their own sanitary napkin, which is sad to say, because there is no other place they could go and get them. There's no funds in their budget to get any sanitary napkins. How do I feel about it being a luxury item? It is not a luxury item. When you got women living on the street and they have to use this product, that's when I think it's pretty clear that it's not a luxury item.
I think it would be nice. I know even for myself that it is expensive. It's something that that you always have to think about, and so I think it would be wonderful if it was removed. It would help everybody.
I think it's really great that this petition and this conversation is happening around like whether there should be a tax or not, because unless someone introduces that conversation, because like menstruation is so invisibilized, it's kind of easy to not even think about like whether that should be taxed or not, that those menstrual products should be taxed or not.
The tax on feminine hygiene products is a gender-specific tax, and it's been made very clear through various taxation regimes that things that are a necessity should not be taxed. People shouldn't be burdened with that kind of unfair tax.
That's one of those things that I've been thrilled to see. It feels like all of a sudden everyone is talking about periods in the media, and I think that will continue, and I'm glad that our campaign has been part of that and has been honored to be among these other incredible activists. Yeah.
So what's the takeaway? Periods aren't monsters. Menstrual blood is nothing to be afraid of. What's the one thing that scares us? The fact that the government believes feminine hygiene products are a luxury. They're not. Pads, tampons, and menstrual cups are necessities. Period.